Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here because you're not just walking through life, you're walking through levels of the unseen. You've been obeying God in quiet places, surrendering when it would have been easier to rebel, staying faithful when no one was watching. And now, you carry a rank that can't be recognized by natural eyes. This is why certain people don't understand you. This is why some battles felt more intense than your situation could explain. You don't just live on earth, you operate across realms, and obedience is the key that's unlocking doors in dimensions people can't even perceive. Here are 7 powerful chapters to help you understand the invisible rank you now carry, and why obedience was the secret weapon that unlocked it. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Because this message isn't just a video, it's a divine confirmation of your hidden promotion. This isn't surface-level inspiration. It's a spiritual alert for those who've been obeying God in silence and are now carrying unseen rank across realms they don't even realize yet. If your spirit feels this, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't just symbolic, it's a prophetic signal. It says, I'm aligned, I'm awake, I'm operating in unseen authority. Not everyone will make it to the end. Only those whose spirits are tuned to divine truth. Those who stay will begin to recognize the spiritual weight their obedience has built. The doors that are about to open because of silent yeses, and the divine honor being released in realms beyond human sight. This isn't something you hear once and move on from. This is a living revelation, and every time you revisit it, another layer will unfold, another realm will unlock, another confirmation will rise in your spirit. You didn't imagine the warfare. You weren't crazy for staying obedient, and this message will show you exactly why. Let's go deeper. Chapter 1. The test no one saw. Chosen one, obedience doesn't usually look glorious. It doesn't come with recognition. It doesn't trend. It doesn't go viral. In fact, most of the time, obedience looks like being overlooked. It looks like being quiet when you could have spoken. It looks like saying yes to God when your heart was breaking. It looks like surrender. Not because you were weak, but because you were spiritually wise enough to trust God's way over your own. God didn't test your strength in the spotlight. He tested your surrender in the shadows. While others were chasing stages, you were learning to stand still. While others were being seen, you were being sifted. Heaven was watching, not to judge you, but to refine you. There were moments you had every reason to quit. You had the opportunity to retaliate, but chose restraint. You could have defended your name, but you chose to let God be your vindicator. You could have taken the shortcut, played the game, sold out for results, but you didn't. Instead, you stayed the course, walked the long road, and cried through closed doors without bitterness. And while no one applauded you, heaven recorded every single moment. This was never about perfection. It was about posture. This was never about public success. It was about private submission. The real test wasn't how much you achieved. It was how deeply you trusted when nothing around you made sense. God was testing your integrity when no one else could see. He was watching what you would do when no one was clapping. He was measuring your obedience when your only reward was more silence. And still, you didn't waver. You obeyed when it was costly. You stayed when walking away would have been easier. You said, "Yes, Lord," even when it felt like it was breaking you. You didn't obey for applause, for followers, or for favor. You obeyed because you love Him. And that's what gave you your spiritual rank. You passed a test that people around you didn't even know was happening. They thought you were just quiet. They thought you were just passive. They thought you were just missing opportunities. But heaven knew you were passing an exam designed in eternity, an exam only the truly chosen could endure. And because you passed what no man could measure, you now carry an authority that no man can manufacture. Not a worldly authority, but a spiritual weight, a divine backing, a quiet strength that shifts atmospheres, not with volume, but with presence. You passed the test no one saw. And now, the realm of the unseen knows who you are, because your obedience in the dark has given you rank in the light of God's favor. Chapter 2. Obedience is spiritual currency. In the natural world, currency is what gives you purchasing power. But in the spiritual realm, it's not money, influence, or intelligence that gives access. It's obedience. Obedience isn't weakness. It's not passive. It's not about blind submission or following rules out of fear. Obedience is power. It's the currency of heaven, and only a few are rich in it, because few are willing to pay its price. Every act of obedience sends a signal into the spiritual realm. It says to heaven, I can be trusted. It says to God, you can give me more, and I won't misuse it. It says to angels, this one walks with orders, not opinions. And it says to hell, you can't tempt me out of alignment. Chosen one, every time you obeyed without understanding the full plan, you are making a spiritual deposit. Every time you stayed pure when impurity was easier, you added weight to your authority. Every time you said no to comfort and yes to conviction, you were buying into something eternal. You may not have seen immediate results, but in the spirit, you are gaining access. Obedience gives you clearance in heavenly places. It unlocks strategies. It activates angelic movement. It places you in positions where your words carry spiritual force, not just emotional impact. People may not know your name, but your yes made you known in realms beyond this one. Many people can talk. Many people can lead, entertain, and even inspire. But that doesn't mean they carry spiritual authority. That doesn't mean they have divine clearance. Because charisma can gather a crowd, but only obedience can shift an atmosphere. Talent can build a platform, but only obedience can shake nations and break generational curses. Gifts can impress, but only obedience can heal, deliver, and transform. You see, there are many with influence on earth, but only a few carry actual rank in heaven. And the difference is obedience. Obedience isn't always loud. Sometimes it's saying nothing when you could say everything. Sometimes it's letting go of what's good, because God is calling you to what's greater. Sometimes it's walking away from what looks like opportunity, because your spirit knows it's a trap in disguise. Every time you obeyed when no one was looking, you weren't just being tested, you were being trusted. You were rising in heaven's hierarchy, not built on ego, but on purity, not built on performance, but on posture. And God has a history of elevating those who obey in private before He announces them in public. You didn't compromise. You didn't fold under pressure. You didn't sell out for attention. And that obedience has now turned into authority, the kind that doesn't need validation, because it already has heaven's verification. So don't be surprised when things start shifting in your favor. Don't question why your name is being brought up in rooms you've never stepped into. Don't be shocked when your presence opens doors without explanation. It's not luck. It's not coincidence. It's spiritual currency returning back as favor. You've been storing up in the invisible realm. And now, The withdrawals are about to begin. Obedience is what got you here. And it's obedience that will keep unlocking what others only dream of. Chapter 3. The rank you carry isn't earthly. Chosen one, it's time to understand something powerful. Your rank is not defined by people. It's defined by heaven. You may not wear a crown that others can see. You may not hold a title, sit on a stage, or be celebrated by the masses. In fact, you might be the one they constantly underestimate, the one they mock, ignore, or reject. But none of that changes who you are in the realm that truly governs all realms. The spiritual one. People may never honor you, but angels already know your name. They recognize the authority stamped on your obedience, because you didn't just survive what you went through. You submitted through it. And submission gives access to realms talent cannot unlock. You're not dangerous because of your status. You're dangerous because of your surrender. You didn't chase power. You didn't fake influence. You didn't bow to culture to gain a crowd. Instead, you bowed before God, and that's what made you a spiritual heavyweight. You're not powerful because people know you. You're powerful because heaven recognizes your voice. When you speak, something shifts. Not because you shout, but because your voice carries the weight of alignment. You've been tested in fire. You've said yes when it hurt. You obeyed when it cost you connection, comfort, and convenience. And that level of obedience is why you're ranked, even if no one can see it on the outside. There's a reason you don't fit in, a reason you feel spiritually isolated, a reason people misunderstand you, even when your heart is pure. And yes, a reason you face attacks that make no logical sense, because you don't just walk in the natural, you walk in the spirit. And the realm you move in intimidates darkness, even when people can't explain why they're uncomfortable around you. You carry a presence that disturbs what's hidden. Your purity exposes what's polluted. Your peace confuses what's chaotic. Your voice carries the frequency of someone God trusts. You don't need a title to have authority. You don't need a stage to make impact. You don't need applause to confirm your assignment. What you carry is rank in realms unseen. And that rank has weight. When you walk into a room, angels take formation. When you kneel to pray, hell takes notice. When you speak truth, chains begin to crack. Not because of who you are in the eyes of men, but because of what you've become in the presence of God. You're a spiritual disruptor. You're a kingdom agent. You are heaven's answer in human form because of your obedience. This kind of power can't be bought. It can't be taught in classrooms. It can't be measured by followers or status. This is authority that only comes through submission, through being crushed and still saying, God, I trust you. So don't be surprised when people ignore you, yet doors open for you. Don't be shocked when rooms shift without explanation when you enter. Don't be confused when your warfare intensifies. It's because your spiritual rank threatens systems of darkness. You're not walking in ego. You're walking in evidence. The evidence of someone who's been tested, trusted, and transformed through obedience. You didn't ask for this rank. You qualified for it. And now, you walk with a mantle that can't be explained in earthly terms. What you carry is not from this world, but it's about to impact this world. You are ranked, you are recognized, you are walking evidence that obedience still moves heaven. Chapter 4. Angels recognize your yes. Chosen one, there have been moments where you felt completely alone. Moments where it seemed like no one understood the weight you were carrying. Moments where your obedience looked foolish and your silence felt painful. But what you didn't see, and what you're now about to understand, is that heaven was never blind to your yes. Heaven watches closely, not for perfection, but for alignment, for obedience that comes from the heart, not just the lips. And every time you chose God's instruction over your own understanding, something shifted in the invisible realm. Angels aren't assigned to talent. They're not attracted to charisma or social status. They don't follow followers. They move by divine instruction. And your obedience, especially the costly, painful, quiet kind, gave heaven permission to release backup on your behalf. There are angels walking with you because your yes activated their movement, not because you're known by people, but because you're trusted by heaven. There are unseen hosts fighting battles on your behalf that never made it into the natural realm, all because you said yes when it was inconvenient, confusing, and lonely. That relationship you let go of when God whispered, "It's not for you." That was a signal. That opportunity you declined because it didn't sit right in your spirit, that was alignment. That season you endured without clapping back, without quitting, without losing your integrity, that was divine obedience. And heaven heard it louder than any shout. Every time you obeyed, when it would have been easier to compromise, it was like a trumpet in the spirit, a declaration that said, "This one is ready. This one can be trusted. This one is walking by faith, not by sight." You see, your steps didn't just move you forward. They activated assignments. They summoned divine assistance. Because obedience is not just spiritual currency, it's a GPS signal. It aligns you with heaven's map, and angels respond to the coordinates of your surrender. You may not have seen them, but they've been with you in every room, on every road, and through every battle. There's a reason certain disasters were blocked, a reason some attacks didn't land, a reason doors were closed before you could walk through them. You thought it was rejection, but it was protection. You thought it was delay, but it was direction. Heaven has been watching you say yes when you didn't have full details. You weren't always sure, but you were always surrendered. You didn't always understand, but you still moved forward. And now, that obedience has aligned you with supernatural backing. There are spiritual doors opening now because your life is in agreement with your calling. You didn't chase the blessing, you chased obedience, and now the blessing is chasing you. So if you've been feeling like nothing was happening, know this: the unseen realm has been building around you. The help is already here. The alignment is in motion. And the angelic realm is fully aware of who you are and what you carry. You're not moving alone. You never were. And because of your obedience, you've been given more than a calling. You've been given heaven's full support. Chapter 5. Hell fears your alignment. Chosen one, let's be clear. The reason the attacks intensified wasn't because you were going the wrong way. It was because you finally stepped into alignment with God's will. When you stopped compromising and started fully surrendering, all of hell's alarms went off. You became a direct threat to the kingdom of darkness, not because you were loud, flashy, or perfect, but because you became obedient. Hell doesn't target people who are just religious. It doesn't concern itself with those who are spiritually passive or playing church. Hell fights those who are aligned, those who don't just say, "God, I believe," but live, "God, I'll obey." You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you became dangerous. When you came into alignment, you didn't just change your behavior, you changed your position in the spirit. You stepped into a divine rank that disrupted demonic order. You became a warrior heaven could trust, and a weapon hell couldn't control. Every time you said yes to God in secret, you sent confusion into enemy territory. Every time you forgave when you could have fought back, you broke another chain. Every time you stayed pure in a culture pushing compromise, you shut down a demonic access point. Every time you said no to what appealed to your flesh, but yes to what aligned with your purpose, you were rewriting your spiritual legacy. Obedience doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. It doesn't just please heaven, it panics hell. Because obedience closes doors the enemy depended on. It silences agreements made in ignorance. It cancels curses that were waiting to repeat themselves through your bloodline. And make no mistake, hell had plans for your life. It wanted you addicted. It wanted you broken. It wanted you bitter, angry, silent, and spiritually numb. It had traps set through people, relationships, distractions, and disguised blessings. But your obedience said, no more. You realigned your steps. You repositioned your heart. You chose holiness in a world that worships self. And that decision placed a spiritual mark on your life that darkness recognizes and resents. You weren't supposed to recover from what hit you. You weren't supposed to heal from what hurt you. You weren't supposed to keep your purity, your purpose, or your peace. But you did, because God preserved you through your yes. And now, the devil doesn't know what to do with you. You walk in places and shift the atmosphere without even trying. You pray and heaven responds. You worship and chains begin to shake. Not because of how loud you are, but because of how aligned you are. This is why the enemy fought you so hard before you even knew who you were. It tried to kill you early. It tried to bury your voice. It tried to make you question your calling. But now it's too late. You know what you carry. You've seen too much. You've been through too much. And you're still standing, still surrendered, and still dangerous. Your obedience has become your armor. Your yes has become your weapon. And your alignment has become your identity. You're not just someone trying to follow God. You're someone who's now walking in divine rank. Chapter 6. Earthly delay, heavenly promotion. Chosen one. From the outside, it may have looked like you were stuck. It may have seemed like your life was going nowhere. Like the doors wouldn't open, the opportunities dried up, and everything around you was moving. Except you. People may have whispered. Some may have laughed. Others might have even assumed you missed your moment. But what they saw as delay, heaven recorded as preparation. Because when God is truly preparing someone for greatness, He often does it in silence. He hides you when others are being celebrated. He blinds the eyes of those who should have seen your potential, not because He's punishing you, but because He's protecting your process. Obedience doesn't always come with fast results. Sometimes it comes with what feels like divine silence. But don't confuse silence for absence. When God is quiet, He is strategic. He's setting things in motion that eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard. You weren't stuck. You were being established. You weren't denied. You were being developed. You weren't forgotten. You were being forged into someone unshakable. God was anchoring your spirit so deeply in Him that no storm could uproot you. He was stripping away the need for applause so that when the platform comes, you won't be a prisoner to people's opinions. He was refining your motives, checking your posture, and increasing your capacity, because the weight of what's coming requires a version of you that only isolation could produce. While others were chasing influence, you were choosing integrity. While others were being promoted by people, you were being positioned by heaven. And that kind of promotion always takes longer, because it's meant to last longer. Now the shift is here, and it's not just emotional, it's prophetic. The delay you endured is about to make sense. The slow season that almost broke your confidence is about to give birth to a season of supernatural clarity, confirmation, and compensation. God is not a man that he should lie. He did not bring you this far to abandon your assignment. He hid you so that he could reveal you at the right time, the appointed time. And that time is near. Get ready for visibility that you didn't have to campaign for. Get ready for doors that don't open because of networking, but because of God's endorsement. Get ready for assignments that fit your anointing. Get ready for divine connections that speak your language and carry your same fire. Get ready for opportunities that match the level of obedience you've walked in, not the timeline others expected for you. This is not random favor. This is a divine unveiling. This is what happens when obedience is met with heaven's perfect timing. The same people who doubted your process are about to witness your promotion. Not because you're proving them wrong, but because God is proving himself faithful. This is the moment where heaven speaks. And when heaven speaks, the earth must respond. When God releases the word over your life, no man can block it, no system can stall it, and no demon can cancel it. Chapter 7. Walk in the rank you carried in the dark. Chosen one, you've come through a season where no one saw the cost of your obedience. They didn't see the tears behind your silence. They didn't see the spiritual warfare you endured just to keep walking in purpose. They didn't see how many times you wanted to give up, but chose to worship instead. You were tested, refined, and trusted in secret. And now God is saying, walk boldly. You've been ranked. This is not the time to shrink back. This is not the season to wait for permission. Heaven already approved you. You don't need anyone's applause to rise. Your obedience already positioned you. You don't have to announce yourself. Your anointing will do it for you. You don't have to explain yourself. Your fruit will speak louder than your words. You passed heaven's private exam, the kind that doesn't come with an audience. You proved your loyalty when no one was watching. You stayed faithful when walking away would have been easier. You kept your heart clean when bitterness tried to bury you. You chose righteousness in the dark. And now God is about to show the world what he's been building all along. Walk in the rank you earned through your quiet yes. Speak with authority, not from pride, but from placement. Move with confidence, not because you're perfect, but because you're covered. Command the room, not with ego, but with evidence. You carry a mantle now, not one given by man, but one forged in fire, granted through surrender. They'll think this is your breakout moment. They'll call it sudden success. But what looks sudden to them has been settled in heaven for a long time. This is not the beginning. This is the revealing. You were never just surviving. You were in training. Heaven was developing your voice, your discernment, your purity, your resilience. You were learning how to hear God's whispers louder than people's noise. And now, the season of hiding is lifting, not because the pressure is gone, but because the assignment is active. This is the time to walk like someone who's been in the throne room. You don't need to over-explain. You don't need to make people comfortable with your elevation. You don't need to dilute your anointing to fit in rooms that you've outgrown spiritually. Your authority was built in obedience. Your clarity was born in consecration. Your oil came from the crushing, and now the overflow is coming publicly. You wear a crown that isn't visible, but every room you walk into can feel it. Atmospheres shift when you enter, not because of your name, but because of the weight of your yes. Darkness trembles because of the rank you carry in unseen realms. Heaven moves with you because of the alignment you've maintained in private. This new season isn't about proving yourself. It's about walking as your true self, the one God trained, the one God tested, the one God trusted. Don't lower your volume to match their comfort. Don't dim your light to fit their expectations. You were made to be seen now because you stayed hidden then. This is the unveiling of someone who didn't compromise, someone who didn't fold under pressure, someone who chose purpose over popularity. And now, you are walking into a season of visible favor, built on years of invisible obedience.